I recently had cause to revisit a conversation I had about 20 years ago with a man who, for legal reasons, I'm going to refer to as an unqualified pharmacist. We were talking about smoking, and he said, smoking doesn't give you cancer, man. Guilt gives you cancer. And I inwardly smiled, and I filed that data away in a box that I keep deep in my brain called batshit crazy. But I do have to admit, in recent years, I've had cause to open the box and get that piece of given wisdom out to have another look at. A couple of my friends over the last couple of years have had to go through the process of having and being treated for cancer, and I'm really pleased to say that they both made it through. They caught it early, but at least one of them strongly believes that a prolonged period of stress had something to do with their diagnosis. And actually, if you look online, they're not alone in that assumption. There are quite a few pieces of genuine scientific research that are now drawing a correlation between cancer diagnoses, or at least the outcome of cancer being fatal, and an increased level of exposure to stress and the stress hormone cortisol. But this correlation, I think, between what's going on in our brain, in our emotional self, and our physical self, and the impact that that can have on our health, is really rocketing now out of a place where perhaps it used to be believed by a bunch of hippies and camper vans, and moving into a place where the genuine scientific community is taking a huge amount of notice of it. So, important qualification number one, just to be really clear, smoking gives you cancer, right? It gives you an incredible array of cancers, and that was the reason that I lost my dad last year, so let's just get that one out of the way. But perhaps cortisol and stress and the experience of stress, and I suppose the fact that you could feel guilty and that guilt could lead to an increased amount of cortisol, is certainly starting to become a factor that the scientific community is paying attention to, which is something to keep in mind, right? Because a lot of the decisions that we make these days are made on the basis that one of two things is going to come and get us at the end of the day: heart disease or cancer. And guess what? Both of those things are starting to look like they might have a really clear linkage to stress. So if, like me, you've made a bunch of decisions in your life to try and prolong your healthy years by giving up smoking, taking on a largely vegetarian diet, trying to get a good night's sleep, monitoring your salt intake, you should also be looking at points of stress in your life. Are you working 65 hours a week? Are you context switching 900 times a day? Context switching is proven to increase your cortisol. If you are, it's probably time to have a look at those elements of your life and treat them in exactly the same way as you would any other thing that might be pushing the chances of you getting a fatal disease. Would you do a job that expected you to smoke 3 cigarettes a day? Would you do a job that sent you to fix and clear up asbestos without the relevant safety gear? Of course you wouldn't. So why would you do a job that increases your allostatic load, that gives you enough cortisol to genuinely increase your risk of cancer? Employers are going to have to start taking that stuff just as seriously as they do the physical possibility of introducing pathogens to the human body. And that can only be a good thing, right? Take it seriously, because I do think over the next 5 to 10 years, this science is going to become absolutely rock solid, and we're all going to wish that we paid a little bit more attention to the amount of cortisol generating activities that we undertake in our everyday lives.